So the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is supposed to be coming out this upcoming month on September 30th. At least that's the target release date. It's supposed to be developed and published by Digital Eclipse, and I believe Atari is like a co-publisher of this upcoming game. It's supposed to be on just about every game system you can think of. Switch 1, Switch 2, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, and Xbox One. And the fact that we're getting this in the year 2025 is pretty cool. Feel like it should have been done a lot sooner, but it goes to show you that the classics are still huge attractions in this day and age. The Mortal Kombat trilogy from the 90s wasn't those games were iconic and they developed cult followings as time went by, but at the same time, they weren't the best selling entries within the respective like series or what have you because Mortal Kombat's been around since 1992, I believe, and that was back when the first game came out. And as far as sales is concerned, it didn't seem like the Mortal Kombat series didn't start doing its best. It didn't start doing its best like in terms of commercial sales until like the teens decade with like MK9 and MK10 and MK11, which I believe is the best selling game that we have thus far. MK11 I think did over like 10 mil or something like that. It did really, really well in terms of sales, and that came out back in 2019. But there's a lot of people who still feel like, MK11 is highly overrated, probably because they didn't like Chronica and they probably felt like the storyline was just, it was kind of a mess. But I digress. Yeah, the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, people remember it fondly, especially those who grew up, back in the 90s, like myself. Um, like people were talking about Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn being two of the most iconic villains in the entire franchise. And when I saw trailers for the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, I mainly saw gameplay footage of MK1, 2, 3, and 3 Ultimate. And I didn't really see any gameplay footage for MK4. And I'm not exactly sure whether or not because like MK4 just wasn't as iconic. Maybe because like, Shinnok as a main villain was not nearly as popular as Shang Tsung or even Shao Kahn. But MK4 was pretty good for its time, but I feel like it got overshadowed by like Tekken 3 and other high profile 3D fighting games from the late 90s because MK4 came out in arcade centers back in 1997. So I think that was around the same time Tekken 8 came out in arcade centers. So yeah, Tekken definitely overshadowed it. And I don't know, I just feel like the Mortal Kombat franchise in general stands out more with 2D gameplay opposed to 3D gameplay because I know we got a couple of 3D games back in the 2000s, and even though they were cool, it didn't feel quite right, and it didn't capture the magic of some of the older titles from the 90s or even some of the MK titles from the teens decade. As far as Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is concerned, for those who want to order the standard edition, I believe it's supposed to be like $49.99 across every platform. For the deluxe edition, you can only get down to PS5 and the Switch 1 and Switch 2. So if you want it for the PS5 and the original Switch, it's going to be $69.99. But if you want to get it for the Switch 2, it's $79.99, which is kind of strange because you would think $79.99 would be the price for the deluxe edition if you get it on the PS5. The collector's edition for just about every game system, PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch 2, it's going to be around like $150. And even like if you're a PC user, you have to pay like $150 for that, which I don't think a lot of people are going to go out of their way to do that, um, considering the fact that these are old games. These are games that are like more than like 3 decades old or like more than 2 decades old or what have you. Um, but I think you get like, extra stuff like bonus content if you get like the collectors or the deluxe edition. So I guess people, especially like diehard fans of the MK franchise, would probably be willing to fork up that type of cash to get like extra stuff, whether it be artwork or, you know, um, like a custom book or, tokens or what have you. I'm pretty sure people would they would hack up that type of money. But I think a lot of people would be safe getting either the standard or deluxe editions. But yeah, I do feel like MK classics to this day are very like they're very appealing in the sense where it's nostalgia. You know, a lot of people look at these games and like how fast paced they are and how fun and how addictive they are, despite being really violent. And and yeah, you know, I think it's something that people would buy because it reminds them of better days, you know, back when gaming was fun, back when you didn't have to worry about microtransactions, back when you didn't have to pay for like DLCs and you had all the unlockable characters in the game, which I think is going to be the case for those who buy the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. You'll have like all the characters in like each game, at least that's basically what's been implied from like trailers and what I've read on different websites. But yeah, man, every Mortal Kombat game that came out in the '90s was considered a classic, and yeah, I mean, I don't see that, you know, we're gonna get like a legacy collection 2 or anything like that from like the 2000s games because there were a couple of games that came out in the 2000s which people feel like was underrated, like Mortal Kombat Armageddon and Deception and you know games like that. I don't know if we're ever going to get remakes or remastered or re-releases of any of those games, but I feel like the games that we're getting in this upcoming Legacy Collection are the ones that matter the most, considering how popular they are, and considering the fact that most of those games stand the test of time to this day and age. Because even though the graphics are they look piss poor by today's standards, I mean, that's what people kind of like about it. It's very basic, and it's something that people can really sink their teeth into. It's not heavily story driven. It's just arcade gameplay, and you know, it's fun for the most part, you know. And this is something that people would give an arm and a leg for back in the '90s, you know. And I think the closest we got to that back then was like Mortal Kombat trilogy from I want to say 1996, and yeah, I feel like you know Mortal Kombat for the most part I feel like the legacy of the franchise is going to go on and on and on. And I feel like more people are paying attention to the Legacy collection that's going to come out next month than they are Mortal Kombat 1. Because the Mortal Kombat 1 game from 2023, I think it's done like 5 mil in terms of sales, but it seems like they've been adding DLC to try and get more people to pay attention to it and to try and draw more interest. But I feel like people have kind of tuned out in it, and it's gotten to a point where they're bringing in all kinds of DLC characters from completely different universes to a point where it's just illogical. But you know, it is what it is. Um, there's supposed to be a Mortal Kombat movie coming out, I believe, in October. Mortal Kombat 2. It's something that I want to check out because it looks interesting. Um, Obviously, you know, Johnny Cage is the main character, but they made him more serious opposed to being a comedy character. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's something that'll work. Maybe it's something that is done in a way that's clever where people can get into it. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing the release of this upcoming collection of games and how well it does in terms of sales. And I feel like it's going to be a while before we get a direct sequel to the MK1 game that came out back in 2023. But yeah, until then, I'm looking forward to the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and I honestly feel like it's something that'll probably do at least 1 mil in terms of sales because nostalgia seems to sell in this day and age, and I feel like it might be more of a collector's item than anything. I'm still I'm pretty sure that like, you know, people will play it, you know, just for old time's sakes, but it seems like people are more prone to being scalpers nowadays. And with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if multiple people like bought the game and then they resold it for like double the price. Then than what it's worth or what have you. I'm pretty sure like the standard and deluxe editions of the games are ones that are going to go really fast. And I'm pretty sure that the collector's edition is something that people are probably going to hold on to for years to come.